done somebody wrong. So down the lane I walk with my sweet Mary.
Remember, Roger Whitaker's all-new collection is not in stores.
I'll be loving you.
Stay tuned to order.
Always.
To order, call toll-free 1-800-257-1257 to save all COD charges and pay only $12.98 for records or cassettes or $16.98 for compact disc, plus $3 shipping. Use your credit card or send check or money order to Roger Whitaker, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, to save all COD charges, send check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
And welcome to the International Hour in Washington. I'm Frank Sesno.
I'm Catherine Crier at the CNN Center in Atlanta. Well, the Reuters news agency quotes security sources in Lebanon that U.S. hostage Jesse Turner has been freed after more than 4 years in captivity. Early Monday, the Islamic Jihad for the Liberation of Palestine released a picture of Turner, along with a statement promising to free one of its U.S. captives within 24 hours. The group holds Turner as well as U.S. hostage Alan Steen.
Turner on the phone?
Turner was a visiting professor at Beirut University College when he was kidnapped on January 24th, 1987. The new flurry of statements follows Israel's release of 15 Arab prisoners held in South Lebanon and Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir says the release was a gesture aimed at ending the hostage ordeal in Lebanon.
I think it's one step in the series of steps we have agreed on with the Secretary General of the United Nations, and this step has to lead to the release of our prisoners and missing soldiers.
As of yet, Jesse Turner's wife, Betty Turner, has no independent confirmation of this release. Frank?
Thanks, Catherine. And according to the Associated Press that is just now moving across our wires, they too are reporting that Jesse Turner has been released. Turner, the 44-year-old hostage who has been held since January 24th, 1987. Now we're going to go to Al Hinman to hear what he has to say, reporting again following this word that Jesse Turner has been released. Al Hinman takes a look at the background behind this hostage drama.
Hostage Jesse Turner became a bearer of bad news and threats from his captors.
We're living today a new bitter time. You all know that our fellow teen is dying.
The words appeared to be those of his kidnappers, the Islamic Jihad for the Liberation of Palestine, a shadowy group of Muslim fundamentalists with close ties to Iran. Turner, an Idaho native, taught math, business, and computer science courses at Beirut University College. January 24th, 1987, he and 3 fellow professors were abducted at gunpoint from the West Beirut campus of the U.S.-affiliated school. The kidnappers accused Turner, Robert Polhill, Alan Steen, and Mitaleshwar Singh of spying for Israel and the United States. In the kidnappers' first videotaped message on the professors, Turner not only announced that fellow hostage Steen was dying, but also, in words very similar to statements made by other hostages, had some sharp criticism of the Reagan administration.
We ask the American people and our families to press on our administration to make sure that we will be released alive, because all indicators show that Mr. Reagan's administration wishes that we die so that it gets rid of this trouble.
Turner's wife, along with the other 3 professors' wives, sent back messages of love and support and appealed to the kidnappers to free the 4. The wives stayed in Beirut, working every possible angle they could to free their husbands. When someone claimed to have influence with the kidnappers, the wives gave it a try, even if the attempt hit a dead end. The few and far between communiques from Islamic Jihad brought little hope of an early release. When the captors offered to swap the 4 professors in exchange for Arab prisoners held by Israel, Israel and the United States refused to bargain. Then a surprise. One of the 4 professors was released. Mitaleshwar Singh went home in the fall of 1988. He chose his few words carefully as he talked about the horror of captivity.
Some of the conditions were intolerable and also indescribable. That caused a great deal of emotional and physical hardship to the hostages.
Singh's release proved a painful reminder of the lingering nightmare for the families of the remaining hostages. But freedom for one kept alive the hope for freedom for all. A year and a half later, a message from the kidnappers attached to another picture of Jesse Turner. Robert Polhill would be freed. The kidnappers called his April 1990 release a goodwill gesture. Polhill carried to the White House a private message from his captors along with the repeated hope that the lingering hostage nightmare would soon end. But the ordeal was to linger on. A year later, the kidnappers once again coupled a photo of Turner to the renewal of their demands. No freedom for hostages Jesse Turner and Alan Steen until Israel frees all its Arab prisoners. Al Hinman, CNN, reporting.
Now let us once again tell you exactly the chronology of events so far as we know them. At approximately 2:55 Eastern Time, Reuters moved a report indicating that Jesse Turner had in fact been freed. Again, we emphasize CNN has not been able to independently confirm this news just yet. However, about 5 minutes ago, the Associated Press joined in, reporting from Beirut, quoting Iran's official news agency, also saying that Jesse Turner had been freed. Now, under normal circumstances, and of course these circumstances are anything but normal, but if tradition is followed, Jesse Turner would go from Beirut, where he has been held captive since he was seized January 24th, 1987, to Damascus, Syria. That generally is an opportunity for the Syrians to demonstrate their goodwill and their efforts to free these hostages. Normally, the hostages, or former hostages by that time, have an opportunity to sit and have some kind of public statement. From Damascus, then, they go on to Wiesbaden, Germany, where they go to a U.S. military hospital for debriefing and early physical and emotional analysis. From that point, it is then up to the hostage, or former hostage, and his family as to the destination points beyond that. We stress at this time that these reports are coming to us from various wire services, though there had been indications throughout this day and, of course, over the weekend that another Western hostage was soon to be freed. We will continue to follow this, and as more specific information becomes available, we will, of course, pass it on. Catherine?
Well, Frank, staying in the Middle East but turning to the peace conference, PLO leader Yasser Arafat says his group will play a backstage role when the curtain goes up on that Middle East peace conference. After meeting with Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak Monday, Arafat said the PLO will meet with Israel's Arab neighbors to coordinate policy before next week's talks. The PLO is barred from the conference because of Israeli objections. The leader of a radical Palestinian group warns the Palestinian delegates who attend the peace talks are writing their own death warrants. Ahmed Jabril issued the veiled threat at a conference in Tehran supporting the Palestinian cause.
And when we return, we will have more on the possible release or the reported release of Jesse Turner, and a Middle East historian discusses what we might expect from the upcoming peace conference. Stay with us.
Your attention, please. The 631 will be delayed.
Get some coffee?
No. This gives me a chance to call my broker.
Now?
Sure.
My broker's never in this early.
You have to keep to his schedule?
Trading decisions happen round the clock. That's why so many active investors choose Fidelity brokerage services. Fidelity has experienced brokers available 24 hours a day to place your trades. Plus, you'll save as much as 76% on stock and option commissions. Call this number now for your free Fidelity brokerage fact kit.
That's right, 500 shares at the market price at the open. Great. A couple more things I want to cover.
And find out about Fidelity's fast on-time performance nationwide with significant savings. For your free fact kit, call Fidelity Brokerage Services at 1-800-624-4900, a Fidelity Investments company.
The New Yorker. It's been called the best magazine in the world, probably the best magazine that ever was. See if you agree. Call this number and get 52 weekly issues of the New Yorker for just $25.95. That's $65 off the cover price. Week after week, the quality of the New Yorker speaks for itself.
So call 1-800-257-1257 for 52 weekly issues of the best magazine in the world. Yes, The New Yorker.
CNN is the news and more, like coverage of the world's financial markets, fashion from Paris to New York, and showbiz from Hollywood to Broadway. All the sports, scores, and highlights. Debate from a different perspective. The world's weather. Talk that will thrill you. Tantalizing cuisine. Advice you can count on. The pros and the cons. CNN, with the news you need and much more.
When the Middle East Peace Conference convenes in Madrid on October 30th, it will be a milestone in the arduous efforts to defuse the region's deep and complex hostilities. The participants will come to talk, but will they listen? They will bring a daunting list of mutual animosities and internal divisions. David Fromkin is a historian specializing in the Middle East. He is the author of the book, A Peace to End All Peace, The Fall of the Ottoman Empire and the Creation of the Modern Middle East. Mr. Fromkin, it is indeed the modern Middle East that confronts us here, but certainly with some ancient roots to it. So let me start by asking you, as you look forward to observing this peace conference, what do you think is the principal obstacle in the path to some sort of real progress?
I think the principal obstacle are the domestic pressures on all sides against making concessions. The Arab representatives there must be negotiating in the consciousness that there are extreme elements that will attempt to sabotage any kind of realistic peace package. And on the Israeli side, there are domestic political pressures, too, against making concessions. But unless everybody makes concessions, there's not going to be a peace.
Well, does that then mark it distinct from the process that led to the Camp David Accords?
Yes, there is a difference, because at the time of the Camp David Accords, the Egyptian leadership, I think, was more firmly in control of their own domestic situation than several of the Arab delegations are going to be at this peace conference.
Now, of course, we all remember very well that Israel for a long time opposed this kind of forum, this big international peace conference, for fear it would be isolated. What is your assessment of what the dynamic of this conference is going to be like?
Well, it's you know, from Israel's point of view, every tangible thing that's going to be given away, that can be given away, is going to be something that Israel is going to be given. What Israel wants in return, peace, is much more elusive. It's much more difficult to pin down that you've got it, or to figure out how you're going to get it.
So what do you expect from the peace conference?
Obviously, it's hard to say, but the United States wants very much for it to succeed. The United States is going to be pushing Israel to make accommodations so that it can succeed. And I think the reason that one can be hopeful that perhaps it will succeed is that the Arabs have everything to gain, really, and nothing to lose.
Well, maybe you could define for us what you mean by succeed. What would a successful peace conference be? It's not likely we're going to see any overall comprehensive peace in the near future.
Well, you've got the several separate negotiations that are going to go forward. In terms of Lebanon and Syria, two separate negotiations, you would look forward to a settlement of the frontier issue, which would satisfy Israel's security needs, while on the other hand restoring sovereignty on Lebanon's part and Syria's part over the territories that they've lost to Israel. But the heart of the conference is going to be the attempt to negotiate an agreement on the political future of Arab Palestinians in the West Bank.
David Fromkin, we thank you very much for your time. Catherine?
Thanks, Frank. And still to come, they are the future defense force of Western Europe. As the United States withdraws its troops, we'll look at who will replace them as we continue our series, Europe on the Brink.
For many people, food is an obsession. Like the alcoholic abuses alcohol, those suffering from eating disorders abuse food.
If your family has pleaded with you to do something about your eating problem, call Woodridge for help now. Woodridge is located in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of northeast Georgia. Treatment is Medicare and OHIP approved and is covered by most insurance. Transportation is provided. Call Woodridge now, 1-800-826
7950.
It started early this morning, that feeling that something was a little off. But by noon, her fever had started to climb. Her whole body ached. And now at 5:30, she's coughing and congested. Her head is pounding. Kate Porter has the flu. Now all she can think about is relief. Theraflu relief. Theraflu is serious flu medicine doctors recommend. Soothing, hot liquid relief to ease flu symptoms fast. Theraflu, your flu misery stops here.
I crave snacks, but sometimes those calories have to be tabled. No problem. I've got Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. The great taste I love and only 10 little calories. Instead of munching, I enjoy pure chewing satisfaction.
Newsweek says it's provocative.
Would you like to know how to solve the problem of evil?
Rolling Stone says mesmerizing.
No, man, because if I did, then I'd be out of a job.
Joe Mantegna in David Mamet's Homicide, rated R. Now playing in select theaters.
On CNN Today, staying afloat when your home is on the water. G.D. Most visits Manhattan's boat people on the world today. And on Moneyline, minorities in business climbing the ladder of success. All today on CNN.
Updating briefly our top story, according to Reuters news agency and the AP wires, 44-year-old Jesse Turner, professor, United States citizen, was kidnapped in Beirut more than 4.5 years ago and apparently was released today in the Lebanese capital. Of course, we'll continue to update that story throughout the hour. Frank.
Thanks, Catherine. Pentagon sources tell CNN that U.S. plans to work out a post-Gulf War security deal with Saudi Arabia are coming together much more slowly than earlier had been hoped. The U.S. wanted to leave many of its M1A1 tanks and other fighting vehicles in place, but some are already being pulled out. Questions remain as to how much equipment will stay, where it will be located, and who will have control over it. Pentagon officials want to finalize a deal soon because U.S. law requires that military equipment be accompanied by American troops. U.S. troops that are now in the final stages of returning home.
As the Soviet Union and former Eastern Bloc countries undergo dramatic political and economic change, Western Europe is preparing for some major changes of its own. One big question is how to defend the region in the face of scaled-down armies in the East. A public opinion poll by the Times Mirror Center for the People in the Press found only the British and Spanish expressing real support for fighting for their country, right or wrong. In the rest of Europe, especially France and Germany, most people said they're unwilling to do so. In conjunction with the survey, CNN's Richard Roth toured Western Europe. In our series, Europe on the Brink, he reports on what may be the region's defense force of the 90s.
A 5 a.m. reveille for an unusual company of soldiers. But the unit itself is really a wake-up call for the future defense of Western Europe.
Nous avons une instruction supplémentaire.
A German officer giving orders in French, and a French lieutenant in German? What gives? What kind of about-face is this? Stand and salute the Franco-German Brigade. French soldiers, German soldiers. 50 years after their last bitter encounter on the battlefield, they train, sleep, and eat together in this experimental brigade. Andreas Ross of Germany is best friends with Pierre Chavazzo of France.
Well, it's got nothing to do with us young people. You know, the Second World War or the War of 1870-71, they've got nothing to do with us, because that's a long time ago. And as far as I'm concerned, I hit it off with everybody.
I think this is a starting point. I think it would be a very good idea to have this work together with other nationalities as well.
The camaraderie is commendable, but Western Europeans are more interested in what the Franco-German Brigade will lead to one day.
The EAC, it's a first step to a Western European army.
It's my opinion that units like this are really the future for the security in Europe.
I think this is the motivation for our military people here.
These Franco-German soldiers shoot straight now, but there were problems at the start. The kind any future pan-European force will have to overcome. Military systems, customs, and language are different, but brigade organizers can look back now and smile.
Personnellement, non, je n'avais pas eu cette idée.
Personally, I would never have thought of any such project. On the contrary, when this was portrayed to me in '87, I thought this was a thing out of utopia rather than reality. But I've come to convince myself that this is rather not only reality, but a very good and a very well-working one.
They've been training for 2 years, and commanders say they're ready to fight. There's only one problem. Who's the enemy? Since 1949, Europe has relied on NATO to defend against a Soviet-led invasion from the east, with U.S. troops the backbone. But as the political landscape changes in the east, the U.S. is sharply reducing its military presence in the west.
I must admit, the world ain't like it used to be.
Neither is this mock European town, which NATO troops guarded in annual reforger exercises. The 1991 drills reflect the decline in east-west tension. Thousands of troops and hundreds of tanks were missing.
We're trying to tighten the force down, make it a stronger, leaner and meaner force, and tighter. And so it's for the better.
But many Europeans feel a better defense would be a force that can call its own.
As the Europeans increasingly integrate on a political and economic level, the full trappings of sovereignty instinctively to most people means a defense force of some kind.
A European rapid deployment force might be first, something to match the speed of these U.S. forces, which airlifted from Germany to the Gulf War.
Really good run overall. Good fire distribution.
These tank gunners helped knock out Republican Guard units in Iraq. Leaving Europe in the hands of Europeans would not surprise them.
I think it's the wave of the future. It's the way we're going. America cannot stand alone, and its alliances are increasingly important.
What kind of military alliance is in dispute? France and Germany have announced plans to create a force molded after the Franco-German Brigade and 10 times the size. But Britain and Italy are very reluctant to break with the past. NATO commanders are wary.
I would say NATO's hustling along to, on the one hand, adjust to the future. On the other hand, don't give up the things that you know that work real well until you've got something pretty good in the future.
Wary or not, half the American troops are headed home, among them the 501st Intelligence Battalion. A farewell to arms in the 501's hometown of Ansbach, Germany.
So you see, this day is a great deal more than just a simple farewell ceremony. It is also a celebration that says we have done our job, we have done it well, Cold War is over, and we've been victorious.
The German guests emotional at the thought of the United States leaving.
I don't know in these times which way we can defend Europe. And in my eyes, it's absolutely necessary that the Americans stay here in Europe and that they stay in Germany.
After 2.5 years in Ansbach, Sandra Silby's turning in her gear.
My unit did a lot of work, here. It's just time for us to leave here. Our job is done. We're going home.
But Shirley and husband Sergeant Tom Dover will still miss Germany.
Basically, it's time for us to go home and let Europe be what Europe needs to be in the future.
But almost 1 out of every 4 people in Ansbach is American. The pullout will hurt the town economically. Cleaning soldiers' uniforms is this store's business.
I don't think that it is a good thing, especially concerning our security. I am a bit worried.
But many Germans, including the owner of this record store, which caters to Americans, are happy to see the GIs go.
I think it's about time, because a lot of things changed in Europe. So there's no more reason for the Americans to stay here.
And even more reason for Europeans to take over their own defense. But the recreation is over. Presidents of France and Germany say the new force will be the nucleus of a larger European army. The men of the Franco-German Brigade said what they really wanted was a mission. A sense of purpose. Now they may have it. Richard Roth, CNN Special Reports, Stettin, Germany.
And tomorrow in our series, Europe on the Brink, a look at the coming single economic market in Western Europe. It's called Europe 1992, but many worry about unemployment.
This CNN Special Series is brought to you by Motorola Cellular Telephones, for technology that can really take it.
Hi, I'm Lee Trevino. I'm very proud to be the first spokesman that Motorola has ever had. You know, I've been playing golf for an awfully long time. It doesn't make any difference what you take up, whether it's working a computer, building a telephone, playing golf. The quality has to be there. The durability has to be there. And the people that are making this telephone, they've got to be proud of what they're doing. You know what I'm proud of most of all? Is it's made in the good old USA.
It feels to me always like someone's banging on my knuckles with a hammer. It's really uncomfortable.
Today, it isn't aspirin, it's Advil for minor arthritis pain.
Advil just really helps with the pain. It makes it go away. The Advil caused me no upset stomach.
Over 100 million people have tried Advil for many types of pain.
That means to me it must work, and it also means it must be safe, and those are two things that I'm interested in.
Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
These people never thought of themselves as high-pressure salespeople. They've always been committed to service. That's why they've become successful Better Homes and Gardens real estate agents, and why they use our proven real estate marketing systems to serve their customers better than anybody. After all, we've found that once you place service above everything else falls into place. For information about a career in real estate, call 1-800-ADVANCE or your local Better Homes and Gardens real estate firm.
When people come to me for investments, I ask what are their needs? Goals for next year and the next 30 years. Higher tax brackets. Fixed incomes. I show them a group of funds with a wide range of answers.
For a whole family of investment needs, look to the Van Camp and Merritt family of mutual funds, including the U.S. government fund. Ask your investment representative for a prospectus or call 1-800-DIAL-VKM.
Coming up on the International Hour, we'll have an update from Damascus on the hostage release of American Jesse Turner. And then on CNN World Report, Lebanese refugees battle their own government in their search for shelter. Stay with us.
That's life.
You guys around next week? Not me. I'm off to State College on Saturday. You're still going? That's great. What about your dad's surgery? Yeah, the bills and stuff. No problem. He had some extra insurance to help pick up the bills.
Aflac Supplemental Insurance helps close the gaps in your health insurance, like deductibles and co-payments. Aflac lets life go right on, and that's the peace of mind you want. Aflac, insuring over 35 million people worldwide.
There's something special about driving a Daihatsu from Japan. Whether it's the reliability, high mileage, and comfort of our affordable Daihatsu Charades, or the versatile performance of our Rocky wide-track 4x4 with the widest track in its class. You'll feel like the whole town is going to light up and really take notice. It's how we make them. Daihatsu.
International Hour continues, followed by Early Prime, next on CNN.
Did you know that you can send beautiful flowers like these anytime, anywhere to anyone by calling one phone number? The number is 1-800-FLOWERS. because now more than 10,000 of America's finest florists have the same telephone number, 1-800-FLOWERS. All you need is a telephone and a major credit card. Just pick up the phone and call 1-800-FLOWERS. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, toll-free. 1-800-FLOWERS. We're the 24-hour worldwide florist.
You, my friend, can use some fun. Big fun. Las Vegas, Atlantic City, cruise ships. But you got to take this along, the Players Club card. It's going to save you a lot of money. 25 to 50% off fabulous resort hotels, 25% off meals and drinks, up to 50% off shows and entertainment. Come on. Call Players Club for much more information free. You're too smart to pay full price.
New members get 2 free nights in Las Vegas or Atlantic City when the club books their flights. Call toll-free now.
This is CNN.
And updating our top story, there are unconfirmed reports from Lebanon that U.S. hostage Jesse Turner has been freed after nearly 5 years in captivity. The Reuters news agency quotes security sources as saying Turner is being driven to the Syrian capital, Damascus, where he'll be handed over to U.S. diplomats. Turner was a visiting professor at Beirut University College when he was kidnapped on January 24th, 1987. Early Monday, the Islamic Jihad for the Liberation of Palestine released a picture of Turner and said it would free one of its U.S. captives within 24 hours. For more on this breaking story now, CNN's John Sweeney joins us on the telephone line from Damascus, Syria. John?
Well, Frank, Turner's apparent release after nearly 5 years in captivity followed a day of speculation about whether or not he would be freed. Officials at the American Embassy in Damascus are preparing to greet the 44-year-old former educator at the Beirut University College, and a military plane is in the region prepared to transport Turner to a U.S. medical facility in Wiesbaden, Germany. According to the reports, he was released about an hour and a half ago in Beirut. Hopes for his release have been raised and dashed several times today. Raised when the Israelis released 15 Arab prisoners earlier in the day. Dashed when kidnapped groups said all bets were off following an Israeli air raid in retaliation for the Sunday deaths of 3 Israeli soldiers. Raised earlier tonight when Syrian Foreign Minister Farouk al-Shura said Turner would indeed be freed. Now apparently the Boise, Idaho native is on his way to freedom and a reunion with his family, including a daughter born 6 months after his kidnapping, a little girl named Joanne he has never seen before. John Sweeney, CNN, in Damascus.
Thanks very much, John. And there remain then, by our count, 7 Westerners still held hostage in Lebanon. They are Terry Anderson, who has been held the longest. He was taken captive on March 16th, 1985. In addition, Thomas Sutherland, Joseph James Sicipio, Alan Steen, and of course Jesse Turner, whom we believe has just been released. Also, Terry Waite, a British citizen, and 2 Germans, Heinrich Strubig and Thomas Kempner, remain still, we believe, in captivity in Lebanon. Catherine?
Now let's check in, get an update on the financial markets from Beverly Schuch at the New York Stock Exchange. Beverly?
Thanks, Catherine. Here on Wall Street, investors are worried about a triple whammy: inflation, high interest rates, and a sluggish economy. That plus profit-taking after Friday's record close is pushing the Dow down. Right now, stocks are lower across the board, and the Dow Industrials are down 23 points at 3054. Trading volume is moderate, 141 million shares traded so far. Decliners ahead of advancers by a 2-to-1 margin. The broader and secondary markets are all lower as well. The Supreme Court wants to rehear a case blaming cigarette companies for tobacco-related deaths. In anticipation of the High Court's decision, Philip Morris stock is down 1 3/8 points at 71.5. Interest rates are climbing today on inflation worries. New tax cut plans out of Washington are triggering selling in the credit market. The Treasury's 30-year bellwether bond is down 1 7/30 in price. That is driving the yield up to 8.05%. Rates are also up at today's weekly Treasury auction for the first time in nearly 2 months. 3-month bills yielding 5.04%. 6-month bills coming in at 5.11%. Higher interest rates tend to boost the U.S. dollar, and right now it is up 3/4 of the yen against the Japanese currency, up 1/3 of a cent against the German mark, and up 1 cent against the British pound. Precious metals prices are rising on supply concerns. A former Soviet prime minister agreeing with recent lower estimates of Soviet gold reserves. And right now in New York trading, gold settled up $1.50 an ounce at $365.90. Silver gained a cent at $4.17 an ounce. The U.S. benchmark crude is down 13 cents at $24.01 a barrel in New York trading. Kuwait expects all burning oil wells to be capped in the next few weeks. Kuwait's oil minister today saying less than 58 wells are still burning or gushing oil. Iraq damaged more than 700 wells during the Kuwaiti invasion. And that's the latest in business news. Don't forget to join us tonight for Moneyline with Lou Dobbs. That's at 7 and 11:30 Eastern Time. And now with less than a half an hour left in trading on Wall Street, the Dow Industrials are down 19 points. I'm Beverly Schuch reporting live from the New York Stock Exchange.
Thanks, Bev. And ahead on CNN World Report. The Bolivian government deploys a big stick in its battle against drug traffickers.
This stock market update is brought to you by the financial consultants at Shearson Lehman Brothers. You can get there from here with Shearson Lehman Brothers.
Where do you want to be in 20 years?
Well, my father worked for the same company for 39 years. He got 2 weeks vacation, but we never traveled far. He was saving to put 3 kids through college. At 65, he retired. At 67, he died. How can I invest so that after my kids graduate, I can enjoy the second half of my life?
You can get there from here with Shearson Lehman Brothers.
As refreshing as it looks. A new shower massage from Teledyne Waterpick.
My dad had ulcers, so when my stomach started acting up, I was afraid to go to the doctor. But finally, I went. Was I relieved when my doctor said Mylanta? He said it was indigestion, not an ulcer, and my kind of indigestion called for a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
And try Mylanta's Mylacon. It has the best medicine for gas.
Tonight, talk show king Phil Donahue. He's doing a new show with Soviet journalist Vladimir Posner. Meet them both, plus actress Linda Carter. All tonight on Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
And let's go now to Ralph Wenge for a look at what's ahead at the top of the hour. Ralph, what have you got?
Coming up on Early Prime for our U.S. viewers, firefighters are struggling to contain a fire that already has destroyed hundreds of homes and killed at least 10 people in the Bay Area of California. We'll have a live report on that. Recent runway accidents prompt new questions about the safety of the U.S. air traffic control system. We're also going to be showing you how prisoners now can make their court appearances without going to court. And, of course, we shall follow the story that has been breaking for the past hour or so, the apparent release of another American hostage, Jesse Turner. These stories and more coming up at the top of the hour on Early Prime.
Welcome to our CNN World Report segment, where we bring you news as reported by broadcasters around the globe from their perspective. Well, Turkey's Prime Minister Masoud Yilmaz has resigned following his party's defeat in the general election on Sunday. More on these election results from Turkey's TRT.
About 27 million Turkish voters went to polls on Sunday, and the picture of the parliament totally changed after the elections. The result of the elections ended the 8-year domination of the center-right Motherland Party, which was founded by Turkish President Turgut Özal. The Motherland Party is still the second party with its 23% votes and 114 representatives in the 450-member assembly. But the leading center-right Trupat Party won 65 more seats, though its votes were only 4% more than the Motherland Party because of the complex rules of the election system, which brings great advantage to the leading party. There were two big surprises of this election. First, the main opposition Social Democrat Populist Party fell to the third place with its 21% votes. The second surprise was the great success of the Islamic fundamentalist Welfare Party, who made coalition with the other two nationalist right-wing parties before the elections. As a result, the election brought the leader of the center-right True Path Party, Süleyman Demirel, back to the scene. The results prompted much speculations about the coalition partners, and it seems that these speculations won't end till the first gathering of the assembly, which is expected to take place in the early days of November. This is Kadri Özden from Turkish television, reporting for the CNN World Report.
After years of civil war and months of brokered peace, life still hasn't returned to normal for many people in Lebanon. This report from Lebanese Broadcasting Corporation.
Lebanon's human tragedy didn't stop with the end of the fightings. There are those who are still refugees in their own country. Aline don't remember her father. He died during the war. All she knows is the misery and the insecurity of the future. Her family left the village of Alman in South Lebanon, fleeing the massacres of 1985. They stayed in a bombed house north of Beirut. They had to build a small bakery to survive. We came from there and we had some money that we spent. There was no work. What do you expect? Every day we tried to make enough money to eat. But when the war ended, Lebanese authorities decided that their business was illegal. They destroyed it and asked them to move from the house.
I thought he would still have some mercy and some pity. Maybe he would let me at least earn what we needed for that day.
The Haddad family decided to go back to their village, but this is what they found.
This is our home. There was a bakery and 5 floors over the bakery. There was a big building. There were 4 churches in that village. Now you cannot find anyone. Only destructions and stones are left.
They asked the Lebanese government to help them return to the decent life they used to have 6 years ago. The least we are asking for is to have a place to stay there in some kind of vital link between us and the world up there. Lebanon's refugees are trying to re-establish a dialogue with the other communities, but they need a global national campaign to help ease the tensions. Without it, it would be long before they return to sleep in their own homes peacefully.
For the CNN World Report, this is Tanya Mihana, LBC.
Bolivia is the world's second largest producer of cocaine. The country recently took the controversial step of using its military in the battle against drug traffickers. The United States government contributed $14 million to the Bolivian Army's drug-fighting efforts and helped train the soldiers used in the drug raids. Bolivia's Canal 6 PAT has this report.
The support operations to the fight against drug trafficking has started in a vast region of Bolivian Orient. 124 soldiers of Manchego Regiment, known as Rangers, are taking part in a search operation in North Santa Cruz. This Bolivian military under Commander Alberto Vélez Ocampo orders are in charge of search and destroy clandestine runaways and cocaine factories 200 square kilometers around Las Petas village. Manchego Regiment Green Berets work in this important mission in coordination with the Fuerzas Especiales de Lucha contra el Narcotráfico. They work like this. After locate an objective, for example a landed property, Green Berets surround the property and the Fuerzas Especiales get into it for registration. All registered missions are attended by a public prosecutor in charge of officialize the operation and 6 DEA advisors. Alberto Vélez Ocampo, Commander-in-Chief, explains.
I may say we had positive results. Because we are covering an extensive region with no inhabitants, which is being used by drug traffickers. With our presence, we don't permit Bolivian or foreign trafficker settlements.
Until now, 2 clandestine runaways were located and destroyed by the Green Berets. These operations take place after Manchego Regiment took special training in the fight against drug trafficking with American instructors. At the same time, at Beni started the second phase of the drug trafficking interdiction training with the armed forces that will also conclude in December. 51 American advisors will provide training to Jordan Battalion members during 10 weeks, according to 1008 decree. It's important to state that these operations are focused on fight against drug traffickers and that no mission against peasants is considered, even if they cultivate coca leaf. Monica Machicalpi, AT Bolivia, for the CNN World Report.
And coming up on CNN World Report, how Britain's budget crisis is arresting progress by its police force.
AT&T is constantly searching for new ways to help our customers save money on long distance.
We run forecasts, we look at profiles, we do comparisons.
And what we've recently discovered is remarkably simple.
We just got the airline tickets, so...
Those customers who spend over $11 a month on long distance could start saving right away by signing up for the AT&T Reach Out America plan. If you spend over $11 a month, you could save on long distance too. All it takes is one call to 1-800-547-8600.
AT&T, this is Terry. How can I help you?
Hi, Terry. I was wondering if you could help us save some money on our long-distance calls.
This is about people. We have to put ourselves in the customer's place.
Why don't you tell me a little about the way you use long distance?
Well, we make long-distance calls all day long.
You'll learn how you could save 24 hours a day. 25% on calls made after 5 p.m.
Customers say 25% is a pretty good jump.
And enjoy discounts on daytime calls.
I guess you could say we're pretty good customers.
Who are you talking to?
Terry, would you mind repeating that?
The Reach Out America plan is so easy to use because it helps you save when you call without changing the way you
want to pick
call.
up the phone and be able to call your relatives, your loved ones, and not think how much it's going to cost you.
You can save 24 hours a day. There's a 25% discount in the evenings and a daytime discount as well.
My husband has a sister in Madrid that he calls sometimes.
That's perfect. The plan has a discount on calls all over the world.
What about AT&T calling cards? We each have one.
No problem. The plan lets you save on calls wherever you are.
If you spend over $11 a month on long distance, AT&T can help you save. So call us now at 1-800-547-8600.
Good enough for me.
And thank you for calling AT&T.
Honey, that sounded pretty good. Why don't we sign up?
We just did.
Great. Who do we call?
Call AT&T right now for a special limited time offer from Reach Out America.
Police forces across Britain are facing serious money problems. The BBC provides this report of how one police department in the county of Derbyshire has been affected by the budget crisis.
This might look like a squalid cell unfit for even the most hardened criminal. It is, in fact, the changing room for police officers at Alfreton Police Station. The antiquated state of this and other police stations across Derbyshire is just one example of the financial crisis now gripping the county's police force. This single unmodernized toilet is used by up to 40 policemen. 6 detectives have to work here, shoulder to shoulder, in this cramped upstairs office. This sign at reception asks for people's patience while they wait for help from already overstretched officers. Because of the crisis, police recruitment in the county was frozen more than a year ago. The force is still more than 200 officers and civilians short of its total. Some police cars have mileages round the clock. Their interiors all too clearly showing signs of overuse. Some have been kept so long they need MOT certificates. Jeff Toll is the Police Federation Secretary in Derbyshire.
This is the food preparation area where police officers have to prepare, cook food for prisoners. As you look down there, you'll see there's a rather basic microwave. There are no facilities for washing hands, and quite frankly, it quite clearly contravenes the food regulations. It's the frustration of it all that you have professionally trained police officers capable of doing a good job, but having to concentrate so much on the financial frustrations that they aren't able to perform as they should be doing.
One cost-cutting move that's caused them great concern is the introduction of mileage restrictions on the use of police cars. The Labour-controlled County Council blames the government for the crisis, arguing that community charge capping has forced them to cut nearly £5 million off the police budget over the last 2 years. The Chief Constable of Derbyshire feels police funding is a mess. but he's confident his force will still do its best under the circumstances.
We will continue, despite all the difficulties, to provide a quality service. I can say that the professionalism and vocational commitment of the men and women in the force, police and civilian, is in my view second to none.
As Derbyshire officers cope, the government expects effective action from the County Council and the police authority.
And that's it for our CNN World Report segment. Now let's take a look at Tuesday's forecast for selected cities around the globe. Still ahead, a Welsh community remembers a tragedy that occurred a quarter of a century ago. Stay with us.
A kiss? No, I'm sorry. I don't think so.
Oh, no, please, no, baby, no.
Oh, not a good idea. Not now.
No, bad time.
Fight morning breath with Scope. Scope has 2 powerful ingredients that kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Your kiss is ready. Pucker up.
Right on the kisser.
Come on.
Kiss morning breath goodbye with Scope.
Give me that kiss.
My dad had ulcers, so when my stomach started acting up, I was afraid to go to the doctor. But finally, I went. Was I relieved when my doctor said Mylanta? He said it was indigestion, not an ulcer, and my kind of indigestion called for a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
And try Mylanta's Mylacon. It has the best medicine for gas.
What would the classroom be like without cable? Cable companies across America have made a commitment to provide free service and programming to every secondary school in their communities. Cable contributes to life.
This week on James Bond Wednesday.
Bond must die.
But they've got to catch him first. James Bond Wednesday continues with Live and Let Die. 8:05 Eastern, Wednesday night on TBS.
The ancient Croatian port city of Dubrovnik came under fire again Monday from Yugoslavia's federal armed forces, despite the latest truce, supposedly in effect since Saturday. Croatian media reports 6 civilians killed overnight in attacks by federal forces south of the city. The army says 1 federal soldier was killed in a mortar attack by Croatians. Sporadic fighting is reported in other parts of the breakaway republic as well, but in many areas the truce is said to be holding.
And in India, relief workers are flying blankets and food to people trapped in the Himalayan foothills by a major earthquake. The quake, which registered 6.1 on the Richter scale, collapsed buildings and triggered mudslides along the border with Tibet. Hundreds of people are confirmed dead. Also, Sikh militants in northern India set fire to some 30 government buildings in raids overnight. That includes 14 banks in the city of Ludhiana. Over the weekend, a fire in a market there killed at least 30 people. It's not clear if that's connected to the Sikh attacks.
In Prague, Czechoslovakia, police say they're negotiating with a hijacker to free the 5-member crew of a Czechoslovak Airlines plane. The hijacker took over the domestic flight Monday, reportedly threatening the crew with explosives. Its 12 passengers reportedly have been freed now. The man is demanding 1 million German marks and safe passage to Libya.
This is a somber day for people in the small town of Aberfan in Wales. 25 years ago, waste from a coalfield flooded a school, killing 44 people. Now, more than 2 decades later, those lost are still remembered. John Alcott reports.
The mist hung in Merthyr Vale today, just as it did 25 years ago, when the village of Aberfan was robbed abruptly of virtually a whole generation. Only a few people came to the cemetery for this morning's memorial service. Many of the victims' families say there was no real need for one, as their loved ones are constantly in their thoughts. The ceremony was timed to begin at 9:15. The the exact moment when the local junior school and several nearby houses were engulfed in a black tide of slurry and coal waste.
Yes, Lord, you took them away from us, but you gave us consolation and help. You helped us through the very difficult times, sorrowful times. Lord, we have not forgotten them.
An official tribunal blames the National Coal Board for the tragedy because it had built a waste tip over a natural spring. Many survivors remain deeply angry.
They say that a quarter of a century is a long time to remember. We remember every day.
The pit is now closed. The site of the school, a garden. Local people say British Coal should provide a new one or provide new jobs.
And this is what people have always got to be prepared to watch out for, isn't it? That industrialists do not take advantage of people in order that they may make a fortune and desecrate their beautiful valleys, as they did here.
And that's it for the International Hour. Thanks for joining us. I'm Catherine Crier at the CNN Center in Atlanta.
And I'm Frank Sesno in Washington. For our viewers in the United States, here's Ralph Wenge with a look at what's ahead on Early Prime. Ralph?
Thank you, Frank. Coming up next for our U.S. viewers, we'll have a live report on efforts to contain the massive and deadly fire in the hills above Oakland, California. The latest word is encouraging. A new device could provide parents with the early warning they need, a warning that could save their infant's life. We'll have a report. Also, how a fast food franchise can help you make your own money and be your own boss in this tough economy. Those stories and more coming up.
Coming up, Early Prime, followed by Showbiz Today, here on CNN.
Cinemax has variety. Tons of movies.
No commercials.
A lot of movies that you cannot rent. There's always something on that I haven't seen before.
We know we are getting the best.
They're really great movies.
For people who like movies, Cinemax is America's best pay TV service.
It's always movies.
Lots of movies.
And with the largest amount of variety.
Cinemax, if you like movies.
Cinemax for me.
25 million Americans have seen ghosts. 40 million Americans have made contact with the dead. 62 million Americans have had a telepathic experience. 25 million Americans say they have spoken to the devil. Now, their stories will be told. Beyond reality. There are millions of reasons to watch. Saturday at 10:30, 9:30 Central on USA.
Weekdays on TBS, it's Things That Make You Go.
Things that make you go.
Dynamite! Things that make you go.
Nip it in the bud.
Things that make you go.
Doggy. And even things that make you go.
I'm coming to join you, honey.
Things that make you go. Ha! Weekdays beginning at 4:35 Eastern on TBS.
Late night. To you, it's just a TV show. To us, it's a living hell.
It's a TV viewing experience.
Weeknights at 7 Eastern on A&E.